Let's start south of the border where Joe Biden, U.S. President Joe Biden, is facing scrutiny after making these remarks. Have a listen.
The pandemic is over. We still have a problem with COVID. We're still doing a lot of work on it. But the pandemic is over. If you notice, no one's wearing masks. Everybody seems to be in pretty good shape.
The pandemic is over, said U.S. President Joe Biden in an interview on 60 Minutes. The CBC's Katie Simpson is in D.C. with more on some of the reaction to those remarks. Hi, Katie. Let's start with that, making some waves.
Yeah, you know, it's generally never a good day for any sort of political leader if their comments require clarification. And that's really what we've seen all day today. The moment after those comments were made, apparently, according to a number of American news outlets, the White House COVID response team was actually surprised to hear what he said about that. And there's they're making it very, very clear that nothing is changing in terms of the White House response to COVID. The public health emergency remains in effect, and in terms of the overall strategy, it's not changing. Today, we've seen high-profile members of the Biden administration out there trying to walk back the president's comments. We saw the Secretary of Health and Human Services. He was at an event to promote booster shots with the new variant, and he said, listen, what the president was trying to say, he was talking about he essentially made the argument that President Joe Biden was talking about how Americans are feeling and how Americans want to get back to before COVID. And then we heard from Dr. Anthony Fauci today. He had an event he had already agreed to participate in, a question and answer session. And he said, you know, we're not where we need to be in terms of living with the virus. He says that, you know, there are going to be more variants, particularly in the winter time, and that only 67% of Americans are vaccinated. And so that he does still have concerns. While outcomes are much better than they were in the worst of the pandemic, the United States is averaging about 391 daily deaths right now, which is a much smaller number than, you know, back at the worst of it when it was more than 3,000 daily deaths. But it's still a significant concern. And one doctor I just did an interview with, Vashi, says he's concerned that Americans are going to hear Joe Biden's comments say the pandemic is over, and it's not going to do anything to really encourage people to go get their booster shots, not going to do anything to really help with that effort. And that is his big concern there, that people are not going to take it seriously anymore when they hear the president say, well, pandemic's over.
And Katie, those aren't the only comments that generated a reaction, though, from that interview that the president made. He also spoke on the conflict between Taiwan and China.
Yeah, and the White House also had to walk back those comments as well. And they were actually the walk back was given to 60 Minutes. It wasn't sort of a slow walk back once they were made public. Have a listen to what President Joe Biden said about Taiwan.
Would U.S. forces defend the island?
Yes, if in fact there was an unprecedented attack.
So unlike Ukraine, to be clear, sir, U.S. forces, U.S. men and women would defend Taiwan in the event of a Chinese invasion?
Yes.
The White House walked that back and said that there's been no change in the U.S. policy, the one China policy. Those comments are upsetting many people in Beijing. And at a news conference today, a previously scheduled news conference, an official spokesperson said the U.S. remarks severely violate the important commitment the U.S. made not to support Taiwan independence and to send a seriously erroneous signal to Taiwanese separatist independence forces. So at this difficult moment in that China-U.S. relationship, when there was so much tension and fallout after Speaker Nancy Pelosi went to Taiwan and really sort of inflamed things there, these comments are continuing on that track.
Thanks, Katie. Appreciate the update. The CBC's Katie Simpson for us from Washington. Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.